You're listening to Underground USA News.
Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. President Trump has pledged swift federal intervention to address Chicago's rampant crime wave, following a bloody Labor Day weekend where at least 58 people were shot, 8 fatally, across the city, despite claims from Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker that crime is under control, with city data showing a 37% drop in shootings and 32% in homicides compared to last year. The persistent gun violence underscores a city in crisis. Trump's proposal to deploy the National Guard and federal law enforcement has been met with fierce resistance from local leaders, who argue it's an overreach and unconstitutional. Yet many residents and observers question whether local efforts are enough to restore safety to Chicago's streets. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has cut nearly $122 million in federal funding for 195 research projects focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, and LGBT issues, redirecting resources to broader medical research benefiting all Americans. The cuts, initiated in March 2025 and continued through August, targeted grants deemed overly focused on race, gender, and sexual orientation, such as a $5.5 million Vanderbilt University initiative to recruit faculty from minoritized groups. Critics argue this shift undermines specialized research, while supporters, including the Department of Government Efficiency, assert it ensures taxpayer dollars prioritize universal health advancements over niche ideological programs. The decision has sparked resignations, including Dr. Demeter Daskalakis from the CDC, highlighting tensions within HHS over this policy shift. In a significant victory for President Trump's agenda, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit lifted an injunction that had blocked the administration from cutting billions in climate-related funding, reinforcing the executive's prerogative to manage congressionally appropriated funds. The 2-1 ruling, which overturned a lower court's order, allows Trump to redirect or withhold approximately $20 billion from programs like the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, authorized under Biden-era legislation, citing concerns over waste and misalignment with national priorities. Critics, including environmental groups, argue this move undermines congressional intent, but the decision aligns with efforts to curb expansive federal spending and prioritize economic efficiency. The ruling underscores the judiciary's recognition of limited plaintiff standing under the Impoundment Control Act, setting a precedent for future executive actions. President Trump has called for pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer, to release comprehensive data on the effectiveness of COVID vaccines, asserting that the public deserves clarity on whether these treatments truly saved millions of lives as claimed, or if their success has been overstated. In a social media post on September 1st, Trump expressed frustration over internal conflicts at the CDC, exacerbated by the recent firing of Director Susan Monarez and the resignations of other top officials. Amid disagreements with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Trump emphasized the need for drug makers to justify their claims with transparent data, questioning why extraordinary information shown to him has not been made public, and expressed hope that Operation Warp Speed, his administration's vaccine initiative, was as effective as some assert. This demand for accountability reflects growing public skepticism, particularly among conservatives, about the vaccine's efficacy and safety, as only 30% of Republicans now view the jab as safe, compared to higher trust among Democrats. California Governor Gavin Newsom's Agricultural Land Equity Task Force is finalizing a controversial proposal to redistribute farmland to non-white Californians and Native American tribes, framing it as reparations for historical discrimination. The plan, set to be submitted by year's end, includes state-funded land transfers and financial incentives like low-interest loans exclusively for minority groups, raising alarms about racism, fairness, and property rights. Critics argue this approach risks deepening racial divisions and undermining merit-based land ownership, with 82% of California's farmland currently owned by white producers. While proponents claim it addresses systemic inequities, opponents see it as government overreach that could destabilize the agricultural sector. President Donald Trump announced on September 1st that he will award former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani the Presidential Medal of Freedom, recognizing him as a towering figure in American history for his leadership during the September 11th attacks and his relentless fight against crime as a prosecutor and mayor. Giuliani, hailed by Trump as the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and an equally great American patriot, is recovering from a serious car accident in New Hampshire that left him with a fractured thoracic vertebra and other injuries. The announcement underscores Giuliani's decades of service, from dismantling the mafia to comforting a grieving nation post-September 11. Despite recent legal challenges tied to his 2020 election efforts, details of the ceremony are forthcoming, but the honor reaffirms Giuliani's enduring legacy as a stalwart defender of American values. House Republicans, led by Speaker Mike Johnson, are advancing a bold plan to slash $4 trillion in federal spending, targeting programs like the Department of Education and green energy initiatives, to finance President Trump's tax cuts and border security measures. The proposal, which includes a $4 trillion debt ceiling cap, aims to streamline government and prioritize fiscal responsibility, though it faces resistance from Democrats and some GOP moderates concerned about cuts to social programs like Medicaid and food assistance. This budget blueprint, passed in the House and now under Senate consideration, reflects a commitment to reducing bureaucratic waste while strengthening national security and economic growth. President Trump's stringent immigration policies have significantly reduced remittances sent by Mexicans in the U.S., with Mexico's central bank reporting a $1 billion drop in July 2025, marking the largest monthly decline in over a decade. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum attributes the 5% yearly decrease to Trump's aggressive deportation measures, which have cut the illegal immigrant population by 1.6 million since he took office. While this aligns with conservative priorities to curb illegal immigration, critics argue it strains economies in migrant-dependent regions, where local businesses falter without these funds. However, remittances to other Central American nations like Guatemala and Honduras remain robust, suggesting broader economic factors may also be at play. Michigan House Republicans have exposed a staggering $5 billion fraud scheme allegedly orchestrated by Democrats, involving 4277 phantom jobs and non-existent programs designed to funnel taxpayer money back to political allies. The scheme, uncovered through investigations, included funding for absurdities like gender reassignment surgeries for prisoners, glass blowing, and fake arts grants, highlighting a blatant abuse of public funds. This scandal, described as textbook money laundering, has sparked calls for prosecutions to restore accountability and trust in Michigan's government, with critics arguing it reflects a broader pattern of corruption, eroding public confidence in Democrat-led institutions. Pending home sales in the U.S. saw a modest 1.6% year-over-year increase for the 4 weeks ending August 27, marking 2 consecutive months of growth, driven by a notable rise in affordable listings. According to Redfin, this uptick reflects a growing supply of homes, with Zillow reporting that 439,000 homes were affordable for median-income households in July, the highest since August 2022. However, high mortgage rates and persistent affordability challenges continue to dampen demand, with experts noting that many buyers remain cautious amid economic uncertainties. This trend suggests a market slowly tilting toward buyers, particularly in regions like Texas and Florida, where inventory is climbing, but a full recovery hinges on further declines in borrowing costs. The Trump administration has implemented a broad suspension of nearly all non-immigrant visas for Palestinian passport holders, a move that halts travel for purposes such as medical treatment, education, business, and family visits, as reported by multiple outlets. This policy, effective immediately following an August 18th State Department directive, extends beyond prior restrictions on Gaza residents to include Palestinians from the West Bank and the diaspora, though exemptions apply for dual nationals and those with existing visas. The State Department justifies the decision as a national security measure, emphasizing rigorous vetting to ensure compliance with U.S. law, particularly in light of the Palestinian Authority's actions. such as supporting international legal campaigns against Israel, which the administration views as undermining peace efforts. Critics argue the policy unfairly restricts Palestinian mobility, but supporters maintain it's a prudent step to safeguard American interests amid heightened tensions and foreign policy challenges. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, a Democrat from Michigan, unleashed a profanity-laced tirade at the People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit, declaring, "Every genocide enabler look at this room. Motherfuckers, we ain't going anywhere," while accusing both parties of funding genocide and framing her congressional presence as an act of Palestinian resistance. Speaking at an event criticized for hosting speakers who called to destroy the idea of America, Tlaib's remarks, blending personal heritage with militant rhetoric, underscore her alignment with far-left, anti-American, and anti-Israel sentiments, raising concerns about the radicalization of political discourse. Her speech highlights a growing defiance among activists frustrated by their perceived lack of progress, further polarizing an already tense national conversation. A disturbing wave of hostility against U.S. churches has seen 1,384 documented incidents since 2018, with 415 attacks in 2024 alone, according to a Family Research Council report. These acts, ranging from vandalism and arson to a tragic shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minnesota that left 2 children dead, reflect a troubling rise in anti-religious sentiment. While 2024's numbers dipped slightly from 2023's peak of 485, the figures remain significantly higher than earlier years, underscoring a persistent threat to religious institutions. This trend, coupled with incidents like bomb threats and gun violence, raises serious concerns about the safety of worshipers and the erosion of respect for sacred spaces in America. In a disturbing escalation of political violence, former Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš, a populist leader of the ANO party, was hospitalized after being assaulted with a walking stick during a campaign rally in Dobra, Czech Republic, ahead of the October 3rd and 4th parliamentary elections. The attack, condemned by Prime Minister Petr Fiala and Interior Minister Vít Rakušan as unacceptable, underscores the rising tensions in a polarized political climate, with Babiš's pro-sovereignty, anti-establishment stance making him a target. The assailant was detained, and police are investigating the incident as hooliganism, while Babiš, a frontrunner in the upcoming elections, was taken to a hospital in Friedrich Mistec for evaluation, though the extent of his injuries remains unclear. Such acts of aggression against conservative figures raise serious concerns about the state of free speech and political discourse in Europe. Iran-backed Houthi rebels raided United Nations offices in Yemen's capital, Sana'a, on August 31st, detaining at least 11 UN personnel, including staff from the World Food Programme and UNICEF. The assault, which involved seizing UN property and attempting to breach additional facilities, followed an Israeli airstrike that killed the Houthi prime minister and several cabinet members, signaling a dangerous escalation in the region's conflict. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres condemned the detentions, demanding the immediate release of the personnel, while the Houthis' actions underscore their disregard for international norms and humanitarian efforts. This incident, part of a broader pattern of Houthi aggression against UN and aid organizations, raises serious concerns about stability in Yemen and the safety of those working to alleviate its humanitarian crisis. Julius Malema, leader of South Africa's economic freedom fighters, has been convicted of hate speech for his inflammatory chants urging the killing of white farmers, a ruling that underscores the growing tensions over racial rhetoric in the nation. The conviction follows years of Malema's provocative, "Kill the Boer" songs, which critics, including Afrikaner groups and international figures like Elon Musk, argue incite violence against the minority white farming community, responsible for over 70% of South Africa's agricultural output, despite South African courts previously dismissing similar complaints, claiming the chants are metaphorical. This latest verdict signals a potential shift in addressing racially charged rhetoric amid rising farm attacks and land expropriation debates. The decision has sparked conservative calls for stronger measures against such incitement, highlighting concerns over property rights and ethnic violence in a country grappling with its post-apartheid legacy. A catastrophic landslide, triggered by relentless rainfall, has leveled the village of Tarasin in Sudan's war-torn Darfur region, killing an estimated 1,000 people and leaving only one survivor, according to the Sudan Liberation Movement Army. This tragedy, one of the deadliest natural disasters in Sudan's recent history, struck the Mara Mountains on August 31st amid a region already crippled by civil war and famine. The SLMA, a neutral rebel group in the conflict, has urgently appealed for international aid to recover bodies, as the remote area's inaccessibility complicates relief efforts. Sudan's ongoing conflict between the military and paramilitary forces exacerbates the crisis, leaving millions displaced and vulnerable to such disasters. In a monumental win for British industry and national security, the United Kingdom has secured a $13.5 billion deal to supply Norway with at least 5 Type 26 anti-submarine frigates, marking the largest warship export in UK history and Norway's biggest defense investment to date. This agreement, centered on building advanced warships at BAE Systems Glasgow shipyards, will sustain 4,000 UK jobs, including over 2,000 in Scotland, while bolstering NATO's northern flank against rising Russian submarine threats in the North Atlantic. The deal fosters deeper UK-Norway military cooperation, with a combined fleet of 13 frigates set to enhance maritime security and protect critical infrastructure. While some Norwegian critics question the frigate's air defense capabilities, the strategic partnership underscores confidence in British engineering and reinforces NATO's resolve to counter aggression, delivering economic growth and security for both nations. Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom is surging in Dutch polls ahead of the October 2025 snap election, capitalizing on public frustration with unchecked mass migration following the tragic murder of a 17-year-old girl by an illegal migrant in Amsterdam. The PVV, which secured a historic victory in the 2023 elections, is projected to win 33 seats in the 150-seat parliament, outpacing the left-wing grown Links PVDA coalition. Wilders' bold anti-immigration stance, including a 10-point plan to secure borders and curb asylum policies, resonates with voters disillusioned by the establishment's failure to address migration-related issues. The collapse of the coalition government in June 2025, triggered by Wilders' exit over disagreements on immigration policy, has set the stage for a heated electoral battle where the PVV's momentum could reshape the Netherlands' political landscape.
You're listening to Underground USA News.